Talk Radio. You're in to all things music.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Everybody, welcome to Jackie's Groove. Hey, it's Jackie Bertoni, brought to you by Intertalk Radio Network. You're in to all things music. Everybody, it's July 26th. Can you believe this year is blown by? But we're going to have a good time chopping it up. We're going to go back to the 80s style, and we're going to bring it to current situations with my in-studio guest, an amazing R&B producer. We're going to go in depth with this man and what he's done and who he's been associated with, his hits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Everything that's got to do with my in-studio guest, Mr. Brian Alexander Morgan, better known in the industry as BAM. So with that said, I want everybody to welcome with open arms and open ears to Jackie's Groove, Brian Alexander Morgan. BAM, welcome, brother. Good afternoon.
Yo, hey, what's up, man? Thank you for the invite, and I appreciate all the love, man.
Oh, man, it's all about, man. It's just all about keeping the people educated and keeping music alive in everybody's hearts, you know? Hey, let's step back for a second, man. Let's talk about your origin, man. Wichita, Kansas. And when you were brought into this crazy world, what was coming through the speakers of the Morgan family household when you grew up? What was your inspirations musically? Share with us.
Oh, I love that question. That's a great question. Let me tell you, my father, Tommy Morgan Jr., was a huge fan of Jimi Hendrix, Sly and the Family Stone, Lalah Hathaway, Stevie Wonder. So those were the first sounds. And, of course, the Jackson 5, you know, just because I was a kid. But at the end of the day, he was also in a band. So they would have band rehearsals. So I got to hear that the impact of live music in my living room, which was amazing to me as a child, just to see these guys playing instruments and having those sounds come out of it. And then they made a record. They made a 45, which I still have, by the way. Like, they made a 45. And I was just fascinated that you can get sound onto a little plastic disc. And then when I would go to my church, hear the music that they made there at St. James Missionary Baptist there in Wichita. So it was all music all the time. And I'm thankful to God for that, because that was, I think that was just an eye-opener. I didn't start actually playing music, though, until I was about 10.
And share with the listening audience out there, when we know you as a producer, but what instrument of choice came into your life at that age?
Piano, for sure. Piano. Because I think I was fascinated with all the different piano players that would come and play at our piano and organ, I should say. But at our church, we didn't have we didn't have like the dope Hammond that so many other churches had. But we had a little tiny little Wurlitzer, which probably was a good thing, because I was able to maneuver on that thing. Unlike a Hammond, I couldn't have been able to get my little tiny self on a Hammond and do any damage. But I learned on that Wurlitzer, and it was a crappy Wurlitzer, but I made it sound good to me. So I think by the time I started seeing people on Hammond and understanding what that whole thing was, I was ready for it. But
and Bam, let me ask you a question. Siblings in your household?
Just one sister. She's rest in peace, Tony Archibald. She was my 4-year older than me sister. It wasn't musical, and I was the only musical dude besides my dad in the family.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, in Wichita itself, as you grew up and you stepped out of church, as we call it, and you stepped onto the live stage itself, and when you actually started making some money and considered yourself or were considered to be a professional musician, when did you first walk on and realize the fact that this was going to be your calling in life, that you knew, hey, the audience is accepting me on stage, they're digging what I'm doing, they're digging what I'm playing, and so on? Was there a time in your life that the brain or the light above your head switched on, that you knew there was nothing else in your life other than music?
Yes, that's another great question. Yeah, of course. I think the one thing I want to say is that the church, you can't underestimate the church being that training ground. I call it like everybody's Apollo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no more critical audience than the black church, let me tell you. And if you're not bringing it, you're going to know real quick. They'll politely sit you down, you know. So,
exactly.
And then in the Midwest, there's no beaches, there's no ocean, there's no all these distractions and things that people can do on the East and West Coast. So I like to think that the competition is just a little rougher and tougher in the Midwest, like your Detroits and your Kansases and your St. Louises and your, Kansas Cities. And it's just nothing around there to do other than, music in a lot of ways. And so I think if you look at history and the records and things that were made that changed culture, like Detroit, Motown, and Cincinnati and Cleveland with James Brown, every single time it's almost always these Midwest places where there's not a lot else going on. So I think the competition becomes a whole lot more fierce, and you realize really early, hey, I can't just be good. I got to be great,
Right, and my personal friend, my boss, and my good friends for over the years, Mr. Michael McDonald from St. Louis. So he's obviously proven the fact that what you just said makes sense itself. If you had outside disturbances that are going to pull you away, that's what I feel sorry for kids today itself that, love music but just aren't sure if they want to pick up an instrument or pick up the, like an Xbox controller. I think that's a lost cause. And we're going to talk more about that as we go through also, because I want to talk to you and the listening audience. We want to find out, because you have been in this industry long enough. I mean, your jump off, correct me if I'm wrong, really a professional jump off hit in about 1987. And how Brian made his way to Jackie's Groove is through my brother, Jay King, the innovator from Club Nouveau, or the Timex Social Club, if you will. And actually, it was Jay who discovered you and your talent, and brought you, and brought you on and got you your first contract with Warner Brothers back in 1987. And I want to talk to you about that. Share with us. Put us in your shoes for a second. When you got that call and you knew you were going to actually pen a deal with this, not a John and Jane company, talking about Warner Brother Records, what did that do to your heart, man? Did it scare the shit out of you, man, or did it inspire you? Right.
All the above. Because you remember, I'm this Kansas kid who, Wichita's not known for being the hotbed of, discovery for people with labels and stuff like that. So I had no expectations as far as ever being able to get out of there in a major way like that. Now, let me tell you, I had tried a year earlier in 1986, which makes it even more interesting. I came out to Los Angeles and lived with an incredibly good family friend, Mary Baker. She was the sister of my girlfriend at the time, Lachelle Matheny. And she let us live with her in South Central for the summer of 86. Now, mind you, I'm hearing, rumors is dominating the radio at that time in the summer of 86. But I'm also, it's culture shock for me because I'm coming straight from Kansas right into the heart of the crack epidemic and the heart of the gang activity being really, really ratcheted up in 1986 because of crack. So it was a major, major cultural shift for my young 19-year-old mind to do. Right. Now, peep this, though. There's these two other guys who had also been through Wichita in a gospel musical workshop situation, and that was Ray Barnes and Tony Coleman. Tony Coleman had co-written Just Once with Quincy. So I'm hearing and seeing these names, and to me, another thing, Jackie, a lost art is reading people's credits. We don't get that anymore. That's how I knew who people were and who to try to approach because I was an avid reader of credits, right? And you find out who's who and what's what and who's writing and who's producing and who you want to associate yourself with. Now, ironically, rumors, when I heard that all summer, I never, ever associated myself with anything of like that type of sound because I was kind of a snob. Grew up in that, Charlie Wilson, Gap Band, Clark Sisters, Gospel Commission, all that. That was my world. So obviously, when I heard rumors, I was like, "Whoa, what is that?" I thought it was a demo. I wasn't even. I was kind of snotty about it. I was like, I don't know what that is. But look, you never know what the overall plan is going to be. So check this. So in '86, I kept going from South Central to Hollywood to work with those guys, Ray Barnes and Tony Coleman, at their demo studio on Sunset. Now, I did a lot of cool stuff there, but nothing ever stuck. So long story short, we didn't last, that whole summer. We ended up getting back home to Kansas. And I thought, you know what? There's this guy who said he can get us a deal with Solar Records, but that turned out to not be true. And so
You remember Solar, man?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, man. I remember.
Oh, my God.
I mean, that's Don Cornelius, baby.
Absolutely. And Dick Rippey. And we loved Shalimar. Me and the girl, I was in a group with my girlfriend, Lachelle, and then another guy, James Williams, rest in peace, from Kansas. We wanted to be the next Shalimar. One thing that did happen with this guy that was trying to hook us up with Solar is that he got our tape. I had this tape, this demo I had made in Kansas, and we were sounding like really kind of like Commission and the Clark Sisters. We was on that spot, and it was very contemporary for 1984, 85, and so we had made it then. Well, by 86, I was using that demo as a thing to just play the records I had written and our sound. Well, they got that. This guy, Larry Patterson, got that tape to this guy at a Christian label called Word Records in Texas. Now, they were distributed by A&M, who had just had some success with Tremaine Hawkins with the song called Fall Down. Remember that?
Absolutely.
Oh my God! So that was a dance floor crazy.
Yeah, Word was in complete competition with another big Christian label called Maranatha. Do you remember that major label?
Sure, of course.
And I mean,
and
kids, man. And don't get it twisted out there, kids. I mean, Christian music isn't just something that was born yesterday. Christian music has been in the forefront for years. I had my tenure with one of the greatest Christian jazz bands, a huge band by the name of Seawind. And that you talk about crossover with Jerry Hay and Kim Hutchcroft and Larry Williams, Larry went on to Al Jarreau, and Jerry Hay and Kim Hutchcroft went under the Seawind Horns. Yeah, man, who was made famous by Michael Jackson, and so with that situation we all branched out. But I want to hit you with something, because you just mentioned something, the fact that you were 19 years old when you stepped out of the area of the Midwest Kansas City or Wichita, Kansas. When even though you were a grown man, was Mama still with you at the time? Was Mama alive when you left?
Absolutely, yeah. She didn't pass till 2006. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so did she have a hard time snapping that umbilical cord and making sure her baby boy was not going into the devil's land called Los Angeles or the music business? How did she feel about this when you said, "Hey, Mom, I'm going"? What was her? Did she have any trepidations about her letting her boy go?
Not at all, because let me tell you, by that time, number one, I had been recording in a studio setting since I was 11. Like, my first studio experience in Wichita was 1977, and I was with the older kids, and I was in there singing and writing already, and I had only been playing for like a year, so it's like I was determined. But by 1981, when I was 15, I started getting way more serious about it, and was blessed to know this music store owner named John Miller. This guy had a music store, and he sold all the cool keyboards and rented. So I couldn't buy anything, but I could rent stuff. And my mom, I'm sure we had a tiny little crib, and I had all these keyboards renting on the weekends, and was trying to create beats and stuff in her house. So she was probably glad I was going.
No doubt.
I was driving crazy in that little house, But thank God that John Miller allowed me to rent those keyboards and figure out how to program drums on the Linn drum and all that early 80s drum stuff where, my ears were hearing Prince and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis with the SOS band. All those things were influencing my ears and how I heard chords and bass lines and all that stuff. So thank God I was able to have physical contact with those keyboards and those machines to figure out how to do it myself. And so I think that by the time we went to L.A. for that summer in '86, you couldn't tell me shit. I was like, hey, look, I'm ready. I got my joint. And then I had been in the studio because that guy, the Miller music guy, had an actual recording studio at his house that he only allowed people like me who seemed obsessed with recording. And here's what really happened, Jackie. I would be playing on the gear at the music store, and I would play certain demos of mine on purpose to try to get people to listen to it, to see what they thought. And so that kept happening over and over. And then people would say, where did you record that? And then John liked the idea that I had recorded it at his place. So it started to be a promotional thing for him. So he's like, listen, you keep getting these traffic coming to my spot. You can come record over here. I'll give you a break. So that is the thing that literally allowed me to record a really, really nice 16-track demo. And that's the demo that ultimately got to J. King's ears. in 87.
You know, it's funny. You just mentioned something. I just had a text from a buddy of mine, a drummer, and he said Lynn drums, LOL, and with that scary face and the emoji. And for those of you out there that are not drummers, but that Lynn drum, here's going to be my quintessential imitation of the Lynn drum. Boo, boo. You know, that was always made famous by the group called Rolls Royce. You know, and Love Don't Live Here Anymore, and that kind of situation. Because that all came around the same time that we're talking about right now.
No, I got to correct you right there. Now, what you just did was the sound of the spin drum. That was the spin drum.
Spin drum. Hey, I'm a percussionist, man. Give me a break.
My homeboy, Julius Autry, had one of those in 1979. And the real sound that really got popular on was Ring My Bell, Anita Ward.
Absolutely. Man, now you're bringing back some...
that sound up, yeah.
You know,
Lynn drum was a little bit later.
When you came out, when you started writing this music and so on, you mentioned the fact about Shalimar, because what you're talking about there is kind of a strange dichotomy, because Shalimar was more of that, the quintessential, the dance groove itself, with Jody and so on. And they owned that situation. I don't think there was anybody else in that genre of music that really owned the Shalimar gig. To this day, I still forget, what was the brother's name? There was Jody Watley and
Howard Hewitt,
and then
Jeffrey Daniels.
Howard and Jeffrey Daniels. That's the name that keeps escaping me. And he's always reminded me of that. And I don't mean this as anything in disparaging, but he's always reminds me of George Michael's buddy. His partner from Wham. Right. You never remember that last name and so on. So when you came out to L.A. in this last minute, I'm not going to ask that question. I'll wait for the next one because we're coming out of segment number 1 going into number 2. Do you see what I mean by how fast these segments go, my brother? I mean, it just goes on and goes on and goes on. So when we come on a break here, let's chop it up on the break itself and let's pick up where we left off, because there's a lot of things going on. You're a little bit older than I am, but not much. So I grew up in that genre itself, and even though I'm an Italian Armenian boy, I grew up in that dance craze. I mean, and my longevity or my legacy started with a small group called CNC Music Factory and Stevie B. And that was in the 1990-91. So, we're just a little bit up above where you were. But everything old became new. And everybody kind of stole ideas and so on. So with that said, you guys, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want you to go anywhere. I'm not moving a lick here. And I'm enjoying this conversation with my new brother, Brian Alexander Morgan, better known as Bam in the industry. And when we pick it up on segment number 2, we've got a lot more to talk about. So you guys don't go anywhere. This is Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio Network. You're in All Things Music with my music brother, Brian Alexander Morgan. Brian, don't go anywhere. You guys don't want to miss a thing. Stay tuned.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
The Moyer Entertainment Group, in conjunction with Dario, Radio Airplay, and Looploft, is keeping music in our local schools and presenting local talent to the world through the Temecula Valley Music Awards. Submissions for entry into the TVMA 2017 season are now open in all genres, including a youth category for artists under 18 for the October 7th Star-Studded Awards Show, where 100% of the proceeds go towards supporting local music education in the Temecula Valley. Details, tvmawards.org.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EnterTalkRadio.com.
Todd Zuckerman from the rock band Styx, and you're listening to my pal Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove. Groove on, motherfuckers.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
SWV, Sister with Voices. I mean, I wish we can play more of this, but we got to stay away from the YouTube police here and licensing. So with that said, it's one of my favorite songs, man, growing up in this industry, along with groups like we talked on the break just now with Brian Alexander Morgan, who is my in-studio guest. Groups like Expose. I mean, you know you're old, man, when all of a sudden, the soundtrack of your lives comes to fruition. And guys, I'm babbling here, but this is Jackie Bertoni. This is Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio Network. You're into all things music. Hey guys, do me a favor. When you can't listen to us live in our broadcast, and we have a plethora of shows on our network, go to Entertainment Talk or EnterTalkRadio.com and look at the roster of shows that we have on. We have basically different genres for every taste of radio. And if you can't listen to us live, download our easy-to-use application, easy-to-navigate application. 2 words on Google Play and or iTunes called Intertalk, the first one, ENTERTALK, second word radio, and take Jackie's Groove and the plethora of shows we have on our network on the go with you. So with that said, hey guys, welcome back. And we're talking to Brian Alexander Morgan. Brian, thanks for making me feel old, brother, but I don't feel that old because you're a few clicks above me, man. But I got to ask you a question. When you met SWV, Sister with Voices, I can look at those girls right now. I mean, the beautiful, beautiful sisters itself. Let me just kind of put the cart in front. Are they still working right now, man? Educate me. Or did they just say goodnight to the industry?
Oh, no, they're doing great. They had a hit reality show. Rolling Stone did a piece on in 2014 when it was called, the heading of the Rolling Stone piece was the WTF comeback of SWV. They've had a resurgence. Not only that, they've been touring the entire time. They stay on the road every year, all year. And with the resurgence of all this 90s, everything 90s now, they're even more popular than ever on the road. They've gone out with all the New Jack tours. They've gone out with the crazy, incredible packages, Jagged Edge, Guy, all these incredible packages that are touring around. They did the Greek last year. I was there. I was there with them last year at the Greek. They sold out Wimbledon in London, 2015. Yeah, they've been doing great. They got 2 albums under their belt, 2 more albums under their belt in the last 5 years. So they're doing fine. And we'll get to it in probably a later segment, but I have a surprise of some stuff that's coming with us, me and them.
Oh, cool. Because, I'm looking at your bio here, man, because, you're going back to the early, in the 1990s, you penned songs, man, and produced for my girl, Lalah. To this day, yes. Lalah is one of the most beautiful, beautiful women of color I've ever seen in my life. And also Martha Washington and my boy, who's to this day is still one of the most prominent entertainers to me, Usher, or as we call him, Usher. And, so when let's step up to Usher for a second. When you met this young brother for the very first time and you heard him, to rap, if you would, you heard him to sing. Did you know when you first met this kid that he was going to be a motherfucker in this industry?
You know what? This is the thing. When somebody has it, they have it. It's locked. You already know. Like, for example, when he started doing the demos, singing the stuff that I was giving him to do, I didn't have to correct him on anything. His pitch was perfect. His diction was perfect. His attitude was perfect. He was a star. So I knew right away. You could tell right away. Same thing with JoJo, the girl JoJo. She just had it at 13. Usher was 15 when I first worked with him, and they just have it. They just like young Michael. They have it. It's innate. It's something coming from the inside. It's not anything you can put your finger on, but when you see it, you know it. And he definitely had it. Sure.
Bam, let me ask this question. As a producer, I've been blessed because, I'm a little bit out of the limelight itself. I'm not touring like I used to. I'm a studio cat. I'm a grunt in the studios. That's where I want to be. Because you can do all the greatest shows in the world, man. The greatest shows in history. When those lights go down, that show's over with. And so I'm proud and been blessed to work with the Who's Who and play on major hits that are worldwide that will be here long after we're gone. But the question I wanted to ask you, in working with the top producers in the industry that I've worked with, there's been some assholes, and I mean that I guess that comes with the category. But I don't mind as long as their checks cash. That's fine with me. But let me ask you, Brian Alexander Morgan. I mean, the easiest, the most prolific producer I've ever worked with and continue to work with is my dear friend Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. And I always tell every producer out there, young producer and the like, if you get a chance to experience a day in the studio with him, you'll be blessed. But with that asked, let me just, when you hire your musicians and, that you intertwine with the program stuff and so on, is Brian Alexander Morgan, are you an easygoing producer? Obviously, you're bringing these cats in because you know they're going to handle the job. But do you have your thumb down on them, or do you give them free reign, per se, in the studio to make it happen?
It's funny. That's a good question. The way I approach my joints are, if you listen to all my records, especially the hit ones, it's usually just me playing everything. So whenever I call in anybody, mostly almost all of them, because I'm such a left-hand bass dude. Like all my bass lines are all me. Like I've never really had a bass player proper play bass on any of my records because I always play that keyboard bass, kind of like a signature of mine, I think, at this point.
Very cool.
And so that question, when you ask it to me, you're really just asking me, what guitar player did you use? Because that's what I can't play. So, So anytime I've ever done anything external with somebody else, usually it's usually a guitar thing or hiring string arrangers and people to write the string parts when I've done live strings. But generally, I'm all about guitar players, man. I worship guitar players, especially incredible genius level cats. So I've been blessed on the records that I've worked on to have some of the dopest dudes playing guitar on my joints. Michael Gregory is from Sacramento. He's playing acoustic on Rain, comes to mind.
Oh, very cool.
Jubu, who I love. Jubu, who's played with everybody from Tony to he's got his own stuff. Jubu is amazing. He's playing on the a couple of tunes on the second SWV album, like What's It Gonna Be, Fine Time, and cool stuff like that. So generally, I'm looking for the best guitar player to inspire me. I have a really cool one that I'm working with now named Rod. Rod is an amazing young player that is just got all the markings of a genius. And those kind of dudes inspire me, man. So I tend to try to stick with players and people who bring something out of me. You know what I mean?
And that's a good point. So let me ask you this question. Let's step back, since you are the bass player, the left-hand bass player, and so on. Are you an easy guy to get along with yourself in the studio? Are you hard on yourself? Are you a one-take person? How bad do you beat yourself up? And are you an asshole to yourself?
Not when it comes to the music, because usually I'm in there with people who are not only more than capable, but usually are really, really doper than me. That's what I try to surround myself with. People that I'm looking at like, whoa, I need to be more like you. So, but with that asshole part, you probably get that from people when we're talking about singers, vocals, because I was a known taskmaster and perfectionist. And we're talking pre-auto-tune where you had to sing it right and get it right. So I'm all about pitch and all about, diction and making sure you can understand what you're saying. And so I really was a nightmare to some singers, Coco included. I've brought people to tears by doing things over and over and over.
Hey, your name's on it, baby. Your name's on it.
You know what I'm saying? So
I understand.
Yeah.
It's really funny, again, talking about our age and so on, and some of the old is becoming new again. Case in point, my dear friends, the group called Styx, STYX, they came out with their newest album, man. The first one in 14 years, the first new studio music of all new songs. But they recorded it at Blackbird Studios in Nashville. I mean, the quintessential recording studio with $1 million in microphones alone. And check this out, brother. They did everything analog. And also, Michael McDonald has a new album coming out on September 15th called Wide Open. He did it all analog. So with that said, I will be the first one to admit I am a slave to Pro Tools and the Labels love it because they can send it right to my home studio and they get the same sound here at the house as they do at the studios. But I got to tell you something. There's something to be said, and there's something to be missed about that smell of a 2-inch Ampeg reel and that sound of rewinding, that sound, that you just don't hear on Pro Tools. With that said, man, I mean, when's the last time that you had your ass sitting in a chair and the last time that you had your engineer look over and punch that Apex, the Ampex, I should say? Do you still use that at all, or are you a slave to digital?
Slave to digital, but it's ironic that you asked that question because this project that I'm pulling together, I just recently went into the shed and pulled out I have many multi-tracks of stuff over the years. Well, I found out that I had an album's worth of cool stuff that I should probably put out. So only a couple months ago, I was doing just that, sitting there transferring the 2-inch tape stuff over to digital, to Pro Tools, to be able to make this album that I got coming up, some unreleased stuff and some stuff that never came out on very cool artists like Brandy and Babyface and Charlie Wilson, all these people that I wanted to do these records on. And I wrote some of them. I wrote them for them, and we never did it. So we're going to try to pull it all together. By the way, I'm going to need you to call Michael McDonald on one of them. I have a thing for him and Charlie together. So you're going to be playing on it.
I'll share his link with you. Right now, he happens to be in Maui right now, taking a little bit of break on his last leg of his tour. So I'll definitely hook you guys up together, and no problem whatsoever.
Last time I met Michael, it was at a Charlie Wilson show in the Bay Area about 2011.
Okay, so
I've seen him twice. I've seen him at a Stevie Wonder Toys for Tots thing when I first moved here 5 years ago. And he's always been, listen, Michael McDonald, I love, not to digress, but I really, really, really love Michael McDonald, like always have. Him and Kenny Loggins, that thing is a whole nother level of special to people like me who love vocals, keys, and writing. And those two guys personify the baddest writing, the baddest playing, the baddest vocals in the game. Like Michael McDonald, Kenny Loggins, yes, that's why I love the Thundercat stuff. Trust me, I'm all in for every bit of it. It's ridiculous. So it's my time to step up with Mr. McDonald. Thundercat can't take all of the damn joy now. Shit.
Yeah, but that is so cool that you brought that up. My wife and I, Michael had sent me, or better yet, Michael doesn't like their name Michael. Call him Mike, just so you know. When good friends call him Mike.
Got it.
And he texted me and he said, "Hey man," he goes, "I'm going to be on Fallon." This was about a month ago with this cat named Thundercat. Now, I'll be honest with you, brother. I had no fucking idea who Thundercat was until I did a little backstory. Now here's fast forward. We're watching the video. We're watching it. We taped it because we're old and we don't stay up that late if we don't have to. So we're watching it the next day, and we're blown away because Kenny's killing it. Those most distinctive voices out there. In fact, Michael's out on tour right now. Half the tour is split with Boss Skaggs. The other half is split with Kenny Loggins. So the cameras roll, and this Thundercat comes up, and my wife is not taking a chance or giving the credence to this man who is on the top of his game. She was more concerned the fact of how could his stylist let him walk out with board shorts on and so on and so forth. And I said, you're kidding me, right? And, in typical girl, and I don't mean to sound chauvinistic at all, but she was more taken aback by how this man with such great talent would come out and look like a clown. And but again, now fast forward 4 minutes later, she goes, "Oh, this motherfucker is tough." And the fact of the matter is, it was genius on his part, on Michael's part, on Kenny's part, because the old brought in the new, and the new respects the old. And that's the thing that we're doing here a lot. And we're going to employ you to a certain level. And Florentino, our CEO, will talk to you more about it. We're developing a new series where we want the gentlemen and the ladies that are long in the tooth, like you and me and Jay, to help mentor the young cats that are coming up. Because you know what? There's a certain level of fame. There's a certain level. Let's go back to Michael. Let's go back to Boss Skaggs. Let's go back to all the guys that have already made their mark. They don't have anything more they can impress the listening audience with. So they want to be brought to the forefront that they have other talents in in different genres of music itself. And then I want to ask you this question too, brother. And we're gonna talk about this during our segment. You've been in it from the gate, where it was really starting to matter when records were selling. There was such thing as record sales. Does BAM understand the industry where it sits right now? We'll talk about that because I asked the same question to all the luminaries that I interview, and especially your friend Jay King. Jay blew me out the water because I expected an answer to come out of his mouth that would be the same answers that I would have. same answers that Al Di Meola has, same answers that Michael has, and so on. He blew me out of the water. So I'm going to ask you this in the next 2.5 minutes of the segment, and then we'll pick it up on the third segment. But does BAM understand the music business where it sits today?
Absolutely. You have to. And like all models that go away and then new models come, you better not only understand, you better be equipped to deal with the new model. And that's why I've never really been the guy, I've never been the guy that's trying to be out front or do the proper branding of myself. But now that's a necessity. That's a necessity. You're not doing anything without getting your branding together. So I'm in the literal process of getting my brand out there and packaging what it is that I stand for musically. And that's what it's all about. And then you can get your own audience. I know Jay will tell you, that's what the beauty of the game is now, is that you can do it. You don't have to have the support of a big major system all the time. Although that's cool, but you can still do it all kinds of ways now. So it's great. It's really a good time. I just had to embrace the whole streaming thing. For the last 10 years, we were like, this is robbery, and it was. But now I think it's changing, and they're trying to catch up and make sure that they pay these writers and producers what they should be paying properly. So the model's just shifted so dramatically now. Nobody expected streaming to do what it's done in the last 5-7 years. So
that's verbatim what Jay said. And I did an interview with a great vocalist once. I'd love to put the two of you together. Her name is Carly Thomas Smith, and she sings with everybody. She's an actress. She's currently on the new season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. I just interviewed her. I think it was.
I love that show. My God, anybody can introduce me to Larry David, it'd be great to me.
Absolutely, and but her new music, she's amazing. I mean, she sings a lot with Phil Perry and Patty Austin and so on. But she had said one thing about back in the day, we had a team of people working for us, and but nowadays it seems like the entertainer, the artist, you, me, it's all put on ourselves through social media to keep our branding alive and so on. But I want to talk to you more about that because we only got 50 seconds in this last segment. And I asked that part about the music business. But I want to also ask you about music in today's genre of what's going on out there or the lack thereof. So I'm going to pick that up on segment number 3 because I'm curious to find out where you are sitting on this, especially as deep as you go in the industry. So with that said, everybody else, if you have any questions, please go to intertalkradio.com and go to our live feed and pose some questions. And if it's what we feel that it's apropos, I'll bring it to the limelight and we'll get it to BAM and let BAM answer that itself. That's why we don't do BAM. We don't do call-ins. I don't have the time for it. Neither do you. It's all about the education. So with that said, we're going to step out of segment number 2. We're going to be coming into segment number 3 with this deep brother, iconic R&B producer, Mr. Brian Alexander Morgan, better known as BAM. So with that said, guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a short break. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio Network. You're in all things music. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a short break.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EnterTalkRadio.com.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Hi, this is Michael McDonald, and you're listening to my good buddy Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Everybody, welcome back to segment number 3 of Jackie's Groove. Hey guys, this is Jackie Bertoni. Did you know that? And did you know that I'm speaking to this amazing brother, Brian Alexander Morgan, better known as Bam in the industry? This brother is the producers of the who's who of the production companies out there. Had his start in the mid-'80s, first label with Warner Brothers, and as we'll be talking more about the industry, we'll get more in depth of what Bam's doing currently. And Brian, you know, when we stepped out, I asked you a question with regards to the mechanics of the music business. You're excited, as Jay King is. A lot of people are excited because if you're not excited, you either have too much fucking money, or the fact is you can't teach an old dog a new trick. You know, and I understand that. But the thing is, what I don't understand, and this is me being a musician who's worked with the best and, you know, blown smoke up my own ass. But when you work with the Earth, Wind & Fires and the Kenny G's and the group I started out with, back in 79, a group called Tower of Power, who is actually celebrating 50 years this year and still selling out everywhere they play. But my question to you, I asked you about the business and the business model, but here's where I'm going to be like our parents with regards to today's music, which I don't really consider it music, man. I think we're in a stagmire. I think, you know, a lot of artists out there, you guys, there's a word called the bridge. There's a word called melody. There's a word called harmony. And I think it's lacking. And I'm sorry, man. I just don't get the Britney Spears, the Ariana Grandes. Someone's got to teach these little white girls that the word run should be left on a track field. They try too much to be the Mariahs. They try too much. I mean, let's talk about, you know, Sister Whitney, God rest her soul, a woman that never needed to do runs. To me, Mariah, she overdoes the runs, but she still kills it. And in your professional opinion, am I just old, or am I missing the whole fact that there is no bridge in today's music?
No, you're not missing it. I think that you got it. I think that ultimately, though, you got to remember, even with Mariah, when she was doing the run, that's still a lot of it is just cultural appropriation. Let's call it that. So when Whitney was doing some of the stuff, it was still coming from where it comes from, the black church. Mariah really probably didn't have that experience, but that was your first generation of, I call it like you're transferring a particular thing, like which is Melissimo, you know, in you know, layman talk. That's what it is. You're doing these movements, but the problem with that is there's a disconnect between what she's doing and why she's doing it. See. So, like, now you got, I think what's happening now, Jackie, which is a good thing. I'm taking it to a positive. Kids are getting reconnected to the older stuff, and that's why there's such a 90s movement now. There's this incredible thing, because these kids are fed up with not having what you just described, which is soul food, baby. You got to have some meat on the bone. You got to have some meat on the bone. You can have the best production in the world or the most sparse and parsed down production. Your beat's crazy, but if your melody ain't right and tight, You know, that's why we love the Lauryn Hills. That's why we love the SWVs, because they're bringing that melody and they're delivering it with style and soul, and it's got some truth to it. It's not all about just doing runs for run's sake. It's got to have some kind of meaning and culture connection to that. Like, what are you doing and why? You know. So
you know what?
I think
no, I just want to say, I'm sorry we got a delay here. You know what I just downloaded music-wise? A soundtrack, and don't laugh at me and don't judge me, but I thought it was one of the best movie soundtracks, and a movie called Boomerang with Eddie Murphy. And and that soundtrack, you talk about just making me feel like I was in my 20s and 30s again. I mean, great stuff with Boys to Men, you know, and the like. I fell in love with that, man, because it was still happening. You know, at that time, that sound of the late 80s, the early 90s. I love that sound. And again, I mentioned to you earlier about the working with the Stevie B's and so on and so forth. Stevie's still killing it out there. He's still considered to be the king of freestyle. But, you know, we're going back and forth in music. I mean, you're a Sacramento talking area, but you never mentioned a friend of mine, a new brother that brought guitar-wise, I think is just a crazy motherfucker. His name is Bobby G. You know Bobby?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, great player, man. I wanted to throw him there because I've been trying to lasso him, but he's like a wasp on methane, man. You can't get hold of him, man. You can't lock him down. So if you're out there, Bobby, I want to get you on the show. So let me step in. Let me ask you a question.
Listen, Bobby is featured on a few of my joints. I told you I went back and did the master tape and checked out something. Bobby's on 2 or 3 of those joints.
Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Cool, man. And so, you know, we're talking about singers. Let's talk about Lalah for a second. I mean, Lalah Hathaway, her voice makes me melt. You know, it's like warm butter melting. That's the only way I can say it. And she's still got that, you know, and there's a handful of singers out there that are still killing it. And you mentioned something a little while ago about staying relevant, you know, and you're talking about the 90s movement. I mean, come on, Bam. You know, you can go to these shows, again, mentioning the aforementioned groups like Styx and Chicago and Earth, Wind and Fire. You're going to these, you're not going to small venues. You're going to arena-sized venues, and along with groups like Journey and so on. But the cool thing about this is, man, is that you're seeing 3 generations of listeners. You're seeing us.
Right.
You're seeing our children, and you're seeing the children's children. You know, and we're watching the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I said this to Jay also back in April of this year, and they inducted Soundgarden, Eddie Vedder, Journey, and I felt compelled, man. And I wrote on Facebook that the people that you're watching on stage right now are as old as our parents, if not older. And the reason why they're being tribute to these people is because, and excuse my French again, there's real fucking musicians playing real fucking music and playing it really fucking good. And so with that said, and for the young millennials out there, and you brought something up that I love also. You made me smile because actually you put the cart well in front of the horse because it's something I ask. You mentioned something about credits, or better known as liner notes. A lot of labels right now are actually allowing or giving you the option of downloading digital liner notes. Again, for the youngins out there, do yourselves a favor and download this, because Bam will agree with me. There is nothing better than going and sliding that plastic off the wrapper and sitting back, putting your headphones on, or just blasting it to the speakers, and then looking at the credits and going, wow, I never knew Brian produced this. I didn't know Jackie played percussion on this. I didn't know Bobby G played, you know, that stuff. And I didn't know that so-and-so was the engineer, the producer, who mixed it, who mastered it.
Right.
Yeah. You know, who did the makeup, who was the stylist, you know, and so on and so forth. And another thing too, the thank you section. That was the greatest thing for every artist to get a chance to thank this family and friends out there. That to me is a lost art. That's a lost art out there. And so with that said, and Dave Grohl, I'm going to say this again over and over again, he firmly believes that in 5 years, we will have record stores again. And let me ask you a question. Do you think that's possible, brother? Do you think that we're going to be driving down the street and see Tower Records up again? Or do you care?
You know what's funny? In Los Angeles, it's a little different in the Bay Area, too, because Dimples and places like Amoeba, they haven't gone away. They've gotten stronger because there's no record stores, right? So I'm at Amoeba every single week buying new records, old records, CDs, vinyl. I mean, and it's crazy. So the market share from vinyl is up like crazy. Ask Jack White and the people who have championed it 10 years earlier from the White Stripes. So, I mean, I just think that at the end of the day, you're absolutely right. There's something to be said for art. Listen, every single record that I bought recently, Kendrick Lamar, Bruno, every single record, I've always gone back and bought the vinyl as well. Now, I know everybody's not going to do that, but I did it because I want to have the artwork. I want to have the credits. I buy everything. I mean, I bought Compton on vinyl. I got both Kendrick records on vinyl. I got Starboy by Weeknd on vinyl. I got everything. You can buy every new release if it's even remotely popular. You can probably get it on vinyl. So, and CD. And I'll never let my CDs go. I get a lot of shit from my friends about CDs. You come in my house, Jackie, my entire kitchen doesn't have dishes. It has CDs. And I'm not even joking. I'll send you a picture of that. It's ridiculous.
And that's so cool because, Michael just sent me a picture. Michael McDonald have his test press, the two albums, and it's got the handwritten situation of where it was done and so on. And Michael says, now I have to find I have to find a quality turntable to listen to this because as well as I do, audiophiles will tell you the cleanest music that's out there is on reel to reel. Then second cleanest is on vinyl, and so on. There's something to be said about it, and there's also something to be said by putting one of your old albums on and hearing that, in the background,
right?
Just knowing because shame on you for not taking care of that situation. So and so then do you believe? Because understand, there's 38 viable Tower Records in Japan. Japan values their music differently than we value it out here.
Oh yeah,
but, not to preach too much on this, but again, if I missed the answer, do you think there's going to be a resurgence of record stores on every corner like it used to be, like the Music Pluses and the like?
I don't think it'll be the way that it used to be because at that time it was just so dominated by a few companies, and it was just the thing to do. We didn't know anything else. And I think once the cat is out of the bag, like downloading and streaming, you're not going to ever have it back the way that it was. But with that said, I think there will be more and more of them where we thought they were going away. They're not going away. They just have taken a new position, a new place. Because Amoeba is always packed. Trust me when I tell you. Amoeba is always, they do great business over there on Sunset.
Perfect. Let me ask you a question. You're in the studio. I don't care if it's a studio with an SSL Neve board in front of you or if it's Pro Tools or Logic, whatever it may be. When you're recording vocal tracks to put down on these fingers crossed hits to be, hits to beat, let's put it that way. Let's talk about being a gearhead for a second here. Do you have a preference of microphones that you set up, your crew sets up for the singer, or do you leave it up to the singer to have a writer that says he or she wants this model? Share with me on that. What do you like to record with? Is it Telefunken? What's your favorite?
Love Telefunken. I don't have a mic preference. I mean, I just like it depends. You know what? Honestly, it really depends on the person's voice itself. Like my voice is so thin, just when I sing in general. So there's a certain AKG that works on my voice, but that may not work on Coco's voice, or may not work on somebody else's voice. So I mean, I'm down with incredible old school, real deal tube situations, or I like this new modeling thing. That digital guy, he's got that thing. I forgot the name of it. Forgive me right now, but you probably know it. You can you buy his software, and it models all of those styles of mics, the old ones. And you know what I'm talking about? What is that guy? What is that?
No, but I'm feeling what your vibe is on it. But again, I saw that and I read about it, but I still had that big question mark over my head. And it goes back to standing as why. I mean, yes, it's more expensive to do everything analog. And I firmly believe you can hear it analog. I mean, with going back to the interview, we helped promote Styx's new album, The Mission, that's out right now. First album in 14 years. But they recorded it again at Blackbird in Nashville. But the cool thing about it is that to get that analog sound, a lot like Ricky Phillips, the bass player, brought out his old Fender P bass to get that sound. Yeah, and Todd Zuckerman, the drummer, tuned his drums down to get the sound of John Panazzo, the original drummer for that, to get that sound. So everybody had to augment their instruments to sound analog.
Like the way.
If you had your choice, I'm going to give you a choice here. to only record in analog or only record in digital, regardless of what it costs. It says money's no object here. What do you jump to?
I'm going analog for sure. And let me tell you why. Because it's funny you even brought this up. A really good friend of mine, DJ Khalil, he's a gearhead like crazy. Like I'm talking like we are obsessed with gear, whether it's digital or analog. So check this out. So long story short, I had this keyboard that I love and I was using for the last 7 years. And it's kind of a digital hybrid trying to imitate the analog stuff, right? So he so gently told me, he's like, bro, you got to get yourself back to the analog stuff. So like in the last year, I got rid of that thing, and now I have nothing but the dopest, brand new, mind you, brand new analog stuff. Prophet 6, Dave Smith stuff. That's amazing. This guy out of San Francisco that makes nothing but real analog stuff, but it's still new, and it's MIDI, and it's all, everything you need it to be. But it's brand new, but it's not trying to model the old stuff. It's actually the real circuitry. So I am a sucker for some real warm analog everything. Yes.
And by the way, the gentleman's name is Stephen Slate, is the person you were talking about for Modeler.
There you go. Yes. Yes.
Okay, just to kind of give you that vibe. Hey, you know what? I've been, like I always say to young guys itself, the endorsements of yesterday are completely different than the endorsements of today because they don't exist. I always tell these young cats to don't go out looking for an endorsement to get free rig because it doesn't exist. Unless you are on the forefront, unless you're a Bruno Mars musician or people out there that are currently touring, it doesn't exist. So with that said, I've been blessed over the years. LP Music Group, I'm going on 28 years with them as my percussion choice. Vader Drumsticks has been with me 23 years. Sabian's been with me for 24 years. Remo's been with me for 24 years. I'm proud and I'm privileged to be part of this situation because they believe in my career. Now, educate me if you would. Does Brian Alexander, do endorsements exist in your field of music? I mean, do people come to you and bring you equipment, give it to you, if you will, for you to put your name on it?
It's funny. That's an interesting question. At the height of my whole thing, I never even thought about it, and I probably should have been doing it then. But recently, in the last couple of years, with me being involved with the newer stuff like Drake, I have actually signed on to the keyboard that I just told you, like Dave Smith and those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. Like I really, really believe in those products because they really have brought it back to the true analog nature that we really, really love, like the late 70s and mid 70s sound of synths. So I find myself endorsing it because I really use it, number one. And number two, I appreciate that they've done and listened to the work and listened to the people. Also, Akai with the MPC, like I did a lot of my records, I'm So Into You, all those records, Rain, all those records, I did them on the Akai MPC, and I love that. So they're listening to the producers and they're tweaking it. Like they have a brand new one coming out now because they know everybody works usually on programs like Ableton or Logic or stuff like that, right? Well, they listen to the community, and they were like, a lot of people want to go back to hardware like the MPC, like me, like Dr. Dre and I are one of the last two people.
Let me stop you right here. Yeah. I'm going to interrupt you real quick, and we're going to come back to Dr. Dre because you just brought up a red flag, a good flag, I should say. We're going to come out of segment number 3. Guys, 1 hour's gone. 1 hour is coming around the corner. Let's pick this up when we get back, all right? Bam, and we'll pick that up on segment number 4 on Jackie's Group. This is Jackie Bertoni, brought to the Talk Radio Network. Brian Alexander. Guys, don't go anywhere. Excuse me for a minute, brother. We'll be right back after a short break.
You got it.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Hi, this is Al DiMiola, and you're listening to Jackie's Groove with Jackie Bertoni.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Hey, man, welcome back to segment number 4, the second hour of an amazing interview with Brian Alexander Morgan, better known as BAM. You know, my engineer today, Cedric, had said to you at the top of the show, what an eclectic blend of music you've chosen, because everything is different. Let's step back on that song, little quip we just brought up for itself. Give the audience, listening audience out there, give us the genesis of that tune and what we just heard, brother.
That was Drake, a song called 9 on his Views. He's 4 times platinum Views album. Listen, man, I'm so grateful to people like 40 who produced, and his main producer produced that one plus everything else he's ever done, damn near, with Boy Wonder and a couple of other his cohorts. Those guys are guys who not only care about sonics like we do, literally like obsessed with sound and how things sound and why things. Right. You know, and how things are arranged. It's amazing. So I'm blessed to be a recipient of these guys' obsessions. And just like what we talked about earlier, Jackie, those guys always read record credits, and they know who their heroes are. They know who did what, and they respect it. And so I really, really have to say shout out to Noah, Shaib, and Drake himself, and Boy Wonder, and T-Minus, and all those guys in Canada. I'm telling you, they get it. So with that said, I'll say this. A couple albums ago, he had an album called Take Care. He sampled one of my songs called Anything, and he sampled a line from Coco and a song called Take a Shot for Me. And that was great. That was probably summer of 2013. And I had just moved here. I'd only been a year in living in L.A., and I thought I was going to be, just going back and forth working with my man DJ Khalil, who's also a genius. Sound genius, and one of the reasons why I'm here in Los Angeles, because I don't think I ever would have moved here if I hadn't had a brother and a cohort and just obsessed with sound. Loves all the stuff we love, Jackie. Loves all the greats. And so I kept working with him, going back and forth from Sacramento. Long story short, he had already worked on Drake, and then I thought I was about to work on Drake's follow-up to Take Care, and it didn't happen because Khalil's father got sick. And then everything changed. And so my role became support Khalil and what he was doing with his new artists and all that. So it just kind of went away. Well, long story short, I get a call from 40 and says to me, this is in December, it says, hey, do you have anything original for Drake? And I was like, what? So please. I had this joint that I had done a couple of years back, and it was just laying around. So I said, no, I'm going to send him this joint. And guess what it was? It was a vibe. I was like, if I worked on Jodeci right now, what would I do keyboard-wise and chords-wise? What would I do on Jodeci? So I just had this little melody. So I recorded it, sent it to him. He called me, and he started messing around with it. And once he got it in a beat form, Drake heard it and went crazy and loved it. So he called me. Next thing I heard was Drake laying down his vocals and writing to it. So it's just a blessing, man, that I'm even still in the loop enough where these kids care and call and seek me out, and thank God. And I'm trying to keep it going with them. It's amazing.
Hey, brother, I want to make sure you give the correct spelling. Oh, this is DJ Khalil. That's Khalil. Guys, don't get this genius. And I'm not saying anything disparaging against DJ Khalid. But we're talking about two different people.
Oh, you talking about Khaled, the DJ? Okay, no,
yeah, Khaled. I call him Khalid. You know, I would look at this guy at an airport, and I would definitely pull him off to the side. He looks like a terrorist, but that's just my personal opinion, tongue in cheek. But let me just tell you something. Now, I'm not going to let you get off the hook here, brother, because Bam just asked me on break what my age was, and I said I was 57 years old. I thought he was older, but no disrespect to Jay King. You're a lot older than both of us, brother. So how's that? But we're talking about life. We're talking about, because I don't laugh, man, because you know where I'm going to go on this one. Because I always ask the artists, we took a lot of things for granted when we grew up, when we were young, the 20s, the 30s, and so on, where we'd stay up all hours of the night. We'd be, cruising and everything else, and then we'd get up and sleep into 3 o'clock the next afternoon. Now, as we get older, I can speak for myself. I can go to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still up at 7:30, 8 o'clock. We don't need that much sleep. But we were cracking up and talking about just being thankful and being healthy. And we were cracking up on the break itself, and I was hoping that definitely Cedric had us offline, because the conversation was age. The conversation is what we do to keep ourselves going, forthright. And then, of course, Brian Alexander Morgan had the nerve to ask me about a colonoscopy. And we were laughing our asses off. But, I'm proud to say I'm going in 3 weeks myself, because I'm at that age. I just want to make sure that everything is dialed in for the lack of. But the fact is, brother, let me give you a little bit of advice here. I just found this out. If you can hold off 2 months to 3 months, the FDA is now approving the fact that they can test for colon cancer through blood tests. And 80% of all people out there that are getting colonoscopies don't need one. So I'm not endorsed by the FDA or the
God, that's the best.
Yeah, or the medical community.
Get my first one ever.
Yeah, because I'll tell you right now, no pun intended, but colonoscopies are a true pain in the ass. But it's something that we have to make sure that we're going to be around.
Crazy.
Yeah, we're going to be around for 20 years to sit there and do that. Now, let me ask you a question. I got people asking the question, the fact about Drake. I haven't heard an ill thing about Drake. Every time I hear, it's all the bullshit that you hear on TMZ and so on and so forth. But I hear this brother really is a humble cat. You want to share with us how this boy is, man? Is he as sweet as everybody says he is?
Yeah, and not only that, just a genius and a person who is like me. I'm a continuous and utter student. Student. Never stop learning.
Amen.
Never stop absorbing from any and every source that you can that has to do with enriching whatever it is you're trying to do. So I think the reason why Drake is successful and it's so, he seems like he does it like seamlessly. It's because he's a keen observer of not just music but people, and I think all of that matters because it informs his art. You listen to his lyrics; they may talk shit about it and say, he's emotional, he's emo, he's this or that, but really what he is passionate. And I think that is the key. I have passion now, Jackie, like I had when I first started. I'm ready to kill the game again with this record I'm about to put out. And you got to be passionate. That's how you keep it real to me. That's it. Passion.
Let me make you hip to something. My dear friend, Saida Garrett. We all know Saida. If you don't know, she's the one that penned Man in the Mirror for Michael Jackson. She has a new album out right now and has this hit song that is called Ghetto. And that's G H E T P O. Greatness happens even though there's oppression. And it's an amazing song. And it also, the gentleman that's rapping on it is this unknown cat by the name of Common. So, you talk about, the old meets the new. Check it out. Again, it's Saida, that's Siadah Garrett, and the song is called Ghetto. Definitely check it out, man. Again, greatness happens even though there's oppression. And the fact of the matter is, man, I'm all about here keeping it real and kind of keeping people in the forefront of what's happening out there. And we're talking about, you just used the term on the last segment about sampling. You mentioned the fact that, your stuff has been sampled. Let me just tell you something. I'm really proud and privileged. I got coming up, I think it's going to be next month. I've got a gentleman by the name of Warren G coming on Jackie's Groove, and it's going to be a great time because through that I'm going after Snoop, and I'm going to have to get high when I do the interview with him itself. So it's going to be a good time. But the reason why I bring this up in the old meets the news, because recently at a Michael McDonald concert, Warren was in the audience. He didn't want to come up because he didn't want to make it about him. He wanted to make it about Michael. But he did this great sample on a song called Regulator, on Michael's song called I Keep Forgetting. You know, and it's just that keyboard, that Rode 76 sound. And we were talking about it on a break.
Absolutely.
You know, it's funny that we talk about this because when I joined Stevie B's band, all of the musicians in the band were about 15 years my junior. So we're sitting at the Universal Amphitheater, another great venue, taken away. Can we take any more shit away from us musically? The answer is no.
Right.
But the fact is, these kids were sitting there and they're talking to me saying, hey, Jackie, what was the music industry like back in the day? And then I looked at these guys and I said to myself, well, these guys are young. I said, well, you know, I had to push my percussion all the way up the hill, you know, in snow both ways. You know, man, nothing's changed. You know, the bottom line is, and we've got someone on our network by the name of Aaron A. Train Smith, who is an amazing drummer for the Temptations, and his drum track is behind the song Papa Was a Rolling Stone. But the fact of the matter is, the reason why I'm bringing out the old and new, Aaron would tell me that even at the height of their career, being a number one song on the charts, he still had to break his gear down and set it up on his own. There was no such thing as a crew out there. And with that said about being humble, when you go into the studio, when you're sitting down, are you the gentleman that's standing behind that and plugging in all the plugins and the wiring like Ma Bell did on the big board, or do you have a crew that you're using, or are you that much in control of everything you do? Share with the listeners out there.
My situation, and I've always had it this way, is that I work best out of my own studio in my home. So every place that I've ever owned, I've built a studio in it. Like right now, I have a really cool studio that I love. But all the way back when the girls did their thing, even before I was successful and had a home at all, it was still a small studio set up in the apartment. You know what I mean? And so you have to go all the way back to the 80s, Jackie, to talk to where I was at somebody else's space. Like I said, the John Miller guy had the studio. That once I got in the game at all, I always had my own setups, because to me, everybody's setup is so different and it's so personal to your workflow. And that's a word you hear a lot now today. What's your workflow? What do you do? Are you working on Ableton? Are you working on Push? Are you working on Logic? Are you a Pro Tools only guy? I mean, everybody's, it's like, what's your workflow is the question I hear a lot. Well, mine is this. Now that I don't have a 2-inch tape machine and I'm definitely recording everything in the Pro Tools, I still like to work program-wise on Ableton, because it's the flow of it is cool, but I'm still the guy. I was telling you this in the last segment. Dr. Dre, Khalil told me this. Dr. Dre is one of the last guys in the game that really is not a computer guy. Like I'm not a mouse clicking dude. So I always have at least one engineer doing that part of it for me, right? But I need to. I still make it my business to know, hey, let's make sure we have the dopest, latest software, the latest plugins to do the stuff that we need to do. However, I'm still creating freely, not worried about dragging mouses and all that. Somebody else does that in my world. Now, Khalil, he's from like 10 years younger than me. His generation, that's totally normal to him to do all that part of it, like drawing and mouses and clicking on stuff and in and out of this program. And that's not. I'm not doing none of it. If he laughs at me and goes, "See, it's so easy." I'm sure it is. I just don't want to do it. I like to make the beats. I like to create, and I don't want to be bothered with that part of it. I always have cool people around me that know exactly what time it is when it comes to doing all that stuff, so I can just do what I do, and that is play, create, and think about what I'm trying to do and what layers I'm trying to create. Now, today's producer, that's just part of the process for them. To me, that was an NPC. And I was telling you this thing about the Akai thing, Jackie, because I want you to know this. Akai has been hearing from the old heads like me and a lot of producers like me, Easy Mo B, who used to do the SP1200, people like me who are in Dr. Dre, who are all about hardware. Give me a device like an MPC where I know my way around it and I can do what I do. But now they're coming out with an MPC X that I can do everything in the standalone machine and then plug it into software, and it just dumps it all in there, like in Pro Tools or whatever software you're using, as if I did it in the computer. You hear me? So that's cool. So the technology is kind of just like the music, is going backwards in order to go forward, which is great.
Thank you. I mean, you drew that. Couldn't have been more of a beautiful picture you drew just now, because I remember back in the day I used to walk on stage with a Neil Peart setup. Shit, I wasn't even playing because it just looked good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And God bless my techs at the time, because they'd look at me and going, dude, are you really going to play all this fucking shit? Well, no. Are you getting paid? Shut up and put the shit up, right? And, and we'd laugh our asses off. But, I call it using a commando gear now. I will look at a gig. If I'm a pickup artist, so when people come through town, they're not traveling with percussion. They'll call me up and say, hey, man, do you want to play? And I'll say, yeah. So, send me a set list. And I just kind of look at the list and the songs, their hits that are going to require X amount of equipment. So I don't bring that huge setup anymore, man. And it's just not necessary. And it's good to have less around you. Now, with that said, going on to your side of the coin, are you bringing in, now that we don't have all the outboard equipment, how small is your setup when you're sitting your ass down in your home studio with your two monitors in front of you? I mean, are you using a lot of plugins, or is everything encompassed on one system?
It's definitely a lot of plugins because it gets the job done. And for me, Jackie, I've always believed in that I'm just the creative part of it here at the house. The final part of it, like the mixing and all that stuff, usually happens somewhere else. So they already have all the hardware, and they already have all everything that I grew up, loving, and the major gear and all that stuff. So I'm not really looking to have it in my home, because technically all I'm doing is getting the skeleton of what I need to have created. It's more creating it at my place. And then I got enough plugins to generate and make it sound like it's supposed to sound before I ever get it to the final stage. So it works out. You know what I mean? I don't have to have every single piece of vintage gear ever in my house. Now, when I get to the David Grohl stage and the money, when I got that kind of paper, when you can, just have every and anything you want, I might. But right now, my joint is perfectly suited for what I do. And that is create it and make it sound as dope as it possibly can before it walks out this door and we walk into Larrabee or the major studios, to mix it.
And let me ask you this question too, brother, because you brought up a great point there also too. And again, I can't believe we're coming out of segment number 4 already. This is how much fun I'm having and how fast it goes. But I'm going to ask it anyways. When you listen to your hits that you've been involved with over the years, I can only speak for myself. I can listen to stuff that I've done that made it onto, to record. You can have the most amazing percussion put down, but it's only amazing if it ends up on the album. So with that said, have you listened to hits to this day, or even in your own home, and put on the turntable and, facepalm yourself going, I can't believe I played that shit? Or were you happy to this date with everything you've put down, regardless if you had the option to do it yourself or somebody else to choose that? Now, I'm going to say, don't answer that question now, because I want to come back and ask that question, because there's a lot of hits that you've played on. And I want to find out about that, because I can tell you right now, we'll pick it up, because I just learned from my mentor, Paulinho da Costa, the greatest percussionist in the history of music, the most recorded percussionist. He said, when you're listening to a lot of music with percussion in it and really enjoying it, then you realize that it's actually you playing on it. That's when you know you've done a great job. And I got to tell you, I did a mixtape on myself, and I listened to a lot of stuff that I said, and I got to be honest with you, I wasn't unhappy with anything that I played. The way I played it was different than what I play today. Less is more. I've never been a busy player, but I want to find out more of what your taste on that is. So with that said, kids, we're stepping out of segment number 4 into 5 out of the second hour of this amazing interview with Brian Alexander Morgan, better known as BAM in the industry. Guys, I'm better known as Jackie Bertoni, and this is Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Radio Network. You're into all things music. So let's pick that up, Brian, because I don't want to forget that when we come back on the second segment. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a short break. Stay tuned.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it, because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
The Moyer Entertainment Group, in conjunction with the Dario, Radio Airplay, and Loop Loft, is keeping music in our local schools and presenting local talent to the world through the Temecula Valley Music Awards. Submissions for entry into the TVMA 2017 season are now open in all genres, including a youth category for artists under 18 for the October 7th Star-Studded Awards Show, where 100% of the proceeds go towards supporting local music education in the Temecula Valley. Details, tvmawards.org.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EnterTalkRadio.com.
Todd Zuckerman from the rock band Styx, and you're listening to my pal Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove. Groove on, motherfuckers.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Everybody, welcome back to segment number 5. Do you believe it? Segment number 5. We got one more and we're done. But let's maximize everything we have right now. We're talking to my in-studio guest, Mr. Brander Alexander Morgan, better known as Bam, prolific producer in this crazy thing we call the music business. When we went on the break, Bam, from 4 to 5, I asked you a question, and I want to bring this to the forefront again with regards to when I hear myself on recordings over the years and so on and so forth. I've been pleased to listen to what I have, and even though I don't have control of what ends up on record, as I was telling you on a break, I usually give a producer 3 times the amount of percussion that he or she asks for, just because the fact is when I'm done with the track, I don't want to hear it anymore. I want to give them the option. I've covered it from A to Z. And then when I've heard myself, and I said this earlier too, my mentor, Paulinho da Costa, the most recorded percussionist in the history of music, along with John J.R. Robinson, the most recorded drummer in the history of music, and also coming up on Jackie's Groove, Leland Sklar, the most recorded bass player in the history of music. Am I blowing smoke up my ass? You bet your ass I am. And with that said, Paulinho being my mentor, who's taught me everything growing up in this industry, he always said, don't be impressed by what you're playing. Be impressed by what ends up on the album. Thankfully, I am surprised that the majority of stuff that I put on a recording ends up on it. And or even though the producer engineer has kind of taken some of the tracks and moved them around, and that's fine because I played them all. But with that said, I said to Brian when we were on the last segment, I really never facepalm myself of listening to the stuff that I played on, and I went, can't fucking believe I played that shit. So obviously I'm doing something right. But let me ask you the question. Let me throw it to you, your side. Have you listened to yourself when you get, and just to want to find out where you're coming from, that you said to yourself, shit, Bam, what the fuck were you thinking about when you put this down on vinyl or put it down on tape? You ever have that kind of a moment at all?
Absolutely, especially older stuff. I'm always thinking, wow, that mix sucks. I should have done this. I should have turned that. Oh, wow, why is that so loud? What is going on? Why not use that kick drum? Yeah, a lot of that. But one thing that's always true, though, Jackie, that I love about the whole thing is that once the listener has it and it's in their lives and it becomes part of their lives, none of that stuff matters because it's what it means to them that matters. That's my approach to that. It's like, it's like, hey, once it's out, I could redo everything, but it wouldn't mean the same thing. That keeps it squarely in the what it means to you category. I like letting it go and letting it be in the hands of the fans. Where for example, I never thought that little introduction on Week would be such a dominating thing in my life. Right when you play that, it's like, oh God, And I hear it now, and I go, why did I choose that cheesy sound, like that crazy road sound I chose? It's like so thin and whack.
Right.
But you know what? It's not about that. It's about that structure, the chords that I'm playing, means something to somebody, you know, and it's really, really important to them. So it's fine. It's more important about the melody and the structure or what you played when you played it, because that's what you felt. You know what I mean? It's the feeling of it more than anything else.
And what I found interesting also, too, for the listeners out there, the big hit by SWV, Sister with Voices, the song Weak, W-E-A-K, wasn't penned for them. It originally was meant to play to be sung by Charlie Wilson. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I can't wrap my head around that because I'm so used to hearing the song by the girls. How would Charlie have approached that, or how would you have approached that with Charlie?
Think about it. If you really listen to it, if you know Charlie's work, especially in the Gap Band, Weak is absolutely written in his style of singing, because I'm such a Charlie and Stevie fan. But if you listen to the staccato-ness of the hook, I guess I'll be late, I least speak, I lose, I control, something is to me. All that is so Charlie Wilson. It's insane, right? So that's why it happened, because I was thinking about him. And when you talk about the verses, now that switches it up, and it becomes something I was writing from a personal statement I was making about a particular situation. So that turns into something else. Like, you know, I don't know what it is that that's a whole nother thing. But I could always imagine him navigating through it. So I'm going to have him do the record on this album I'm telling you about. It's like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm glad you said that. That type of thing I'm going to have on this new album coming. Have Charlie actually sing it on a new version.
That's so cool that you said that, because I was going to ask you this question. I'm going to share something with you also. When the song became such a huge hit for SWV, did you get any vibe from Charlie he was pissed off that he didn't do the song originally?
Absolutely not. He came by and literally came to my house in Sacramento, and we hung out and vibed and kicked it and he started calling me his little brother, and it was something that I clearly know that it was supposed to happen, because that's how much I really was on his vibe so hard, like back when I was growing up. It really affected how I wrote, period, not just that song, but all songs, just like the Clark Sisters. I have a real personal connection to the Clark Sisters, and this personal connection to Commission and those gospel groups. And Bill Maxwell, the incredible producer that produced the Wine and stuff. Those records really and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. And all that stuff is in my DNA, brother. Like, that stuff is in there so serious. Sly Stone, Donny Hathaway. So working with Lalah and all that stuff was seemingly like what I was born to do, because I loved it like it was my own from the moment I could figure it out and figure out how to play it and get it coming out of my hand. You know what I'm saying? Out of my mouth. So I tell you right now that it was a blessing, and probably whatever, if it's fate or whatever you believe in, I was supposed to do that song on Coco, and it was supposed to bring Charlie to me. That's how I look. That's how it happened. And now, you know, we're friends. I love him, and I can't wait to get with him again on this joint. And Michael McDonald too, for that matter. I mean, like, these people and their voices and their contributions and what they wrote affected my heart so dramatically growing up with Kenny Loggins with the "This Is It" and the "Heart to Heart," and Michael would keep forgetting. And from the jump, Michael was taking it to the streets on What's Happening. Are you kidding me? White dude coming in 1976, 75 in an already established group and with a whole different sound and putting his thing on there. Listen, that's what it's all about. Like, he affected my life, and I'm happy to say that apparently it works. It transfers, because when those guys affected my life, and I'm talking Stevie, Michael, Sly, Donnie, Charlie, Marvin, all those things, that's life-changing stuff. So if I'm doing, wow, I can get emotional about this kind of stuff, because it's real to me.
Yeah, and let me make you a little bit emotional here for a second, brother, because I can only speak for myself. I'm a mama's boy. I lost my mama back in 1992. Not a day that doesn't go by that I don't talk to my mom. Before I go on the air, before I go on stage, I always tell Mama to reach down and give me the strength that I need. I'm not embarrassed to admit that. My mama was my rock. So with that said, let me step back to you and your mama. Did your mama give you, I mean, regardless, we can have all the fame in the world, we can have all the Grammys and all the platinum and golds on the wall, but until your mama gives you the credence. I'm going on 34 years of marriage to a beautiful woman. My wife is one of my biggest fans, but I'm still her husband first and foremost. She really doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Because the bottom line, she's been through it all with me. My mama brought me into this world. My mama used to tell me, I'll take you out of this world like I brought you into it, but not a fucking thing. I'm your mother before I'm your friend. But my mama was my biggest fan. Throwing it back to you, what did mama think about your success? And she got a chance to enjoy it. How much did you make your heart smile when mama smiled at you?
Oh my God, it's everything, because she struggled. Once, my dad took off and left when I was like 7.
Mm-hmm.
So from 7 all the way up, she did it all. So believe me when I tell you. And she put up with my smart mouth when I thought I was, grown and thought I could do everything on my own. And she put up with all that. But then when she saw that I couldn't, she was right there to support, even though I was being a little asshole at some points in there.
And we were.
I guarantee you, but I guarantee you this, though. It's her spirit. And I tell everybody that I talk to about anything musical and spiritual is that it's her spirit that keeps me going now, because I know for a fact that what she instilled in me musically is in the disciplines that I have through listening. Just listening is a discipline. You know what I mean? So I think that I wouldn't have developed it as well or even at all if it hadn't been for her really keeping me in line and keeping me at church and knowing, listen, you can do what you do, but you better make sure you put God first, A, and B, know what you're doing and do it well. And then, and C, be humble. Don't get so caught up and think it's all about you. So there you go. I think those 3 tenets have kept me the person I am. There's a reason why I didn't live in Los Angeles until 5 years ago. And that comes directly from the mom that I had that raised me, the small town kid who just appreciated music itself. Like, all the other stuff is great, all the trappings, all the money, cars, all that fame, all that whatever. But I really never was enamored with that part of it as much as I am the respect and the truth of it. So I give all credit to her for that.
And I say that because, I wasn't always humble, man. I mean, you understand, I was 19 years old working with Tower of Power. I thought my shit quintessentially did not stink. And I was told by somebody years after that you do. My mom always said the one thing: if you put your pant legs on one at a time and you poop, you're no different than anybody else. And I learned that.
Right.
You and I share something. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I want to add this. You just made me think of something. Just image just popped in my mind. There was a period, and you were doing well with CNC probably at the time, or the other stuff you've done, but 1990 to 1992, where there was this really rough period for me where things hadn't gone the way I thought they were going to go. We got dropped from Warner Brothers. Things were horrible. Right. My relationship with Jay was shaky. I was a 22-year-old kid that thought I was about to be on top of the world and ended up at the bottom and dropped from the label and broke. And my mom came from Kansas and visited me in Sacramento. And I remember I wanted to try to impress her that I can still, I'm a big boy, I can handle it and make it. And I went out and tried to go hustle up some money, right? And it was horrible how I was doing that, and it was whack. And I had a car accident when I was trying to do that, and I totaled my car at this exact moment that my mom is visiting, right? And I remember coming back to my apartment with via tow truck guy, and I didn't have a car anymore, Jackie. And I couldn't even take my mom to the airport to go back home to Kansas. And it was pathetic. But what she did was she held me. She was that rock. And it made me know, A, this woman has sacrificed everything, and there's nothing I can do to impress her. Let me get that straight. She's done it all. So let me just, keep it real and be real with her and say, hey, I'm struggling, and I'm not making it, and I'm not okay. Those moments. Because guess what? From that moment to the time she went back home is when everything took off for me. I got Martha Wash, and then that in turn got me able to get a new car. And then I went from a new car to buying some equipment. My first MPC in 92, and that MPC made SWV. All those records got made on that, and that turned into the next success. So to anybody listening,
there's plenty.
Hold on. Believe. And keep it 100. Keep it 100 with yourself, and keep it 100 with the art and with the truth of the matter. You will come out on the other side.
But we didn't always know this. I said the story over again. I was at a local restaurant one day, and one of the managers said, "Hey, Jackie, sneak a cheek." And I moved over, and she sat down, and Shannon said to me, she goes, "I knew you were a musician." And she used the quotation marks with her fingers. But I had no idea that you were a musician. So I put my 2 fingers up, and I said, "Okay, question mark, I don't understand what you mean." She goes, "Well, I was on your website, and I was, I Googled you, and I had no idea that you were that famous." And I said, "Well, hold on for a second." I said, "The people I work for are famous. They're there every day as you turn the radios on, and they're famous." I said, "If they don't have an attitude, why in the fuck would I have an attitude?" And I learned that, because let me just tell you something. The first day you get a chance to hang out all day long with Michael McDonald, you know what? That boy is a humbling soul, because here's a man that owns everything. He owns everything about publishing, and I talk about that all the time to the youngers out there itself, about publishing and owning your music. And it's no time for that. There is absolutely no time for that. And when you're around somebody with that kind of fame, the Stevie Wonders, the Kenny Loggins, the Al Di Meolas, and so on, and these are just homeboys like you and I that are also in admiration for our talents. But let me just tell you, the group that I've had years with is a group called Wilson Phillips. That's Brian Wilson's daughters, Wendy and Carney. And also John Phillips' daughter, China. Now, their first album sold 15 million copies. That would be considered diamond, 15 times over, in the industry itself. Now, she calls me up last month, and she goes, "Hey, baby." And I said, "What?" She goes, "The girls and I are going to re-record Hold On, You Won't See Me Cry, and Impulsive, because now that they've been on this great movie called Bridesmaids, that shot them back up to the top." And I said, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah." She goes, it's a no-brainer." She goes, "We are doing some new music, but we're only going to be bringing out singles to see what the fans are listening. But they're going to redo these 3 songs." And she says, "The reason why we're doing this is because we own the fucking music. We don't have to pay SBK. And so, we're going to make the money, the real money that we should have done." Now, and the reason why I brought this up, I'm going to step back for a second, talking about the industry itself and the thievery that was involved and still continues to be involved. And if you're on top of your game, like the Steven Tylers, and in this case, your side, and the Michael McDonald's, that you own your music, the old situation of being a one-hit wonder. Well, like Jay said to me, Jay King said to me, he goes, "I'm going to bring you up a name, Jackie." And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Chubby Checker." "What was his hit?" I said, "The Twist." He goes, "What was the second hit?" I said, "I don't know of any." He goes, "Exactly." So for the listeners out there, you guys can be a one-hit wonder and earn a grip of money, but just be smart in how you maintain that situation. And the next episode that we come back on, the final episode, I want Brian to explain to the youth out there what it takes mentally, physically, emotional, spiritually, to keep yourself relevant in this ever. Now, the music business isn't changing yearly; it's changing daily, and you got to be up on your game. And again, you've got to be 100% positive what your talents are. So, with that said, brother, we're coming out of number 5 into 6. Can you believe how fast this went? The final segment on 2 hours with my brother. I feel like I've known you, brother, for years, even though we've only known each other for a couple hours. So with that said, when we come back on segment 6, the final, I'm going to bring on the CEO. We have this little thing we do, but you and Florentino go back, your Sacramento boys, and I'll let you guys chop it up for a while. And then we're going to find out where we can stock Brian Alexander Morgan, or BAM, and how we can put some ducats in his pocket also. So with that said, guys, don't go anywhere. Get up and use the boys' room, the girls' room. Get yourself a fresh beverage. When you come back, we're going to roll this all in and reel it in on segment number 6 with my in-studio guest, Brian Alexander Morgan. Guys, Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove. Brought to you by Intertalk Radio Network. You're in. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear, host of Sound Experience here on Intertalk Radio. And Source Connect by Source Element is the essential tool that we use to link between my studio in Austin, Texas, and the WS radio station in San Diego. Now, with Source Connect, not only can we communicate in real time and with HD audio, but it's synced up and is of a high enough quality that I can use it for real-time ADR work, remote recording, and overdubbing, and it even allows me to remotely control a DAW. Source Connect by Source Element. Affordable, high-quality audio and video connection over the internet for all of your production needs.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on intertalkradio.com.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Hi, this is Michael McDonald, and you're listening to my good buddy Jackie Bertoni on Jackie's Groove.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm not embarrassed to say it, man. I feel like I wanted to strap on my parachute pants right now, man, and do the running man to that song. But it's not going to happen anytime soon. Hey, guys, with that said, man, welcome back to the final segment, 2-hour interview with this amazing gentleman, this man that brought tears to my eyes and also everybody at the studio, talking about Brian Alexander Morgan. Bam! Brother, welcome back. You know, it's so funny because when I joined the network a year and a half ago, I didn't know anything about Sacramento, even though I'm a Southern California boy myself, born and raised in Whittier, California. Don't hold that against me. But I thought Sacramento was only the state capital and hot weather. I didn't realize that a lot of, there was a lot of melding between the Bay Area sound and the LA sound that kind of, congregated in the Sacramento area. And you and I have a personal friend. I actually have one of my brothers who is the CEO of this crazy thing called Intertalk Radio Network. He's also your friend. He's the one that brought Jay and you and Bobby and all the Sacramento cats and kittens to Jackie's Groove. And, as I always say, it takes a village. And what it takes is a man like this, a man with integrity, Florentino Buenaventura, to keep this thing going. So with that said, act like you guys don't know each other. And Bam, say hi to Florentino. Florentino, say hi to Bam.
What's up? What's going on, Brian?
Man, thank you so much, Flo, for even suggesting that I be a part of something so cool. So I want to say just thank you right off the ripper.
Oh,
thank
man.
You so much.
You're a blessing to come on the show, man. I've been wanting to connect with you for such a long time. And yeah, Jackie, the check is in the mail. Thank you very much for saying so many nice things about me.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And yeah, man, we just reconnected. We hadn't talked in such a long time. I was reminding, in our conversation, I was reminding Brian, the last time we talked was at Radio and Record was 2002 or 2003. Alicia Keys, this young lady, she had just come out with the song Fallen, and she came up to us and she introduced herself. Hi, my name's Alicia Keys, and, you're Brian Morgan. And she was gushing, and we were just chatting with her. And let me tell you, one of the best hugs I've ever had in my life, brother. Thank you very much for being Brian Morgan. Because she gave both of us a hug, and she treated us to some really amazing show. And I think probably the biggest thing that I got from that was she was playing that, I don't know if you remember, she was playing that classical tune and she messed up. And she was so charming about it. She goes, I'm just a little nervous. I'm so sorry, guys. I hope you appreciate it. And then she went back to playing it. And then, of course, she did Fallen right after that. And it was a pretty special moment. And I was glad that I was able to share it with my brother here. And I'm glad that, didn't know that I was going to actually be having a radio network at that time, going to Radio and Records. I was just trying to make some contacts and pursue the whole, my personal musical stuff. But it looks like God. I think you guys it's permeated through this whole conversation, and God has a plan, and He makes things happen. He reconnects people, and so I'm appreciative of bringing you back, brother.
Florentino, can I tell you one thing that happened at that show that you didn't know happened with the Alicia thing?
No,
it's totally separate from it. At one point, I saw DJ Quick. Quick was there.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I had always been a fan of DJ Quick. So we had a moment where he was able to say what's up, and I got introduced, and he pulled me to the side, and he goes, "Let me tell you something, bro." He said, "I'm not like the biggest R&B dude, but you did a gangster remix on that Week, because I had done that Jeep remix on Week."
Yeah, I remember that.
Listen, I floated out of there on cloud 9 because I felt like a real OG told me that I got to him, and that's what I remember from that whole show. Just wanted to sidebar that.
Yeah. Well, hey man, I'm still gonna remember Alicia Keys' embrace, so that's all good. No, but it's good, man, and it warms my heart. I'm proud to see one of our boys from Sacramento kind of coming up. In fact, Michael Gregory did a little comment on one of the Facebook posts and said, "What's up?" and he appreciated you mentioning his name, man. So I still keep in touch with a lot of those cats, and it was amazing that time that we had. I don't know if it's quite the same thing anymore. I mean, there's a lot of the cats still around, but the people and the talent that came out at that in our generation was just beyond compare.
Crazy, man. Right?
Yeah,
I think the reason why it's changed, can I just throw this out here just while we're on this industry thing? I think the reason why it's changed so dramatically is because everybody is a studio with their laptop, and that changes the vibe of what used to be somewhat of a community still. Do you agree with that, Flo?
Yeah, I definitely do, man. I think one of the things that we're doing here with the network, in fact, with Cedric is the pinpoint with that is we're working with these colleges and creating a thing called Musicians Club. And Musicians Club, actually Cedric started in high school, and we're trying to help foster that within the universities and to help build that community so that we can start seeing the flourishing support, because that was one of the things that we had was everyone supported everybody. With Eddie M coming from the Bay Area,
Bill and Jay King, I got schooled by some of the dopest, and then was able to just really interact before Raphael Sadiq, and it's crazy. You're right, man. Our area for that moment and that period and that whole late '80s, early '90s, all the way through the whole '90s, it just was incredible.
Yeah. I remember meeting Raphael at a Jesse Johnson concert. Bobby and All Is One started doing did the tour with Jesse Johnson, and me and Raphael were just hanging out backstage going, "Oh, we wish we could meet Janet Jackson," and she was there, and we met her for a brief moment, and it was just like, and I look back
shout out to DOA, Derek Allen, of course,
Derek Allen and Flip. Oh man, what an incredible drummer! So
Flip.
Yeah,
and Bobby Gonzalez. If I didn't say it before, I'm saying it again. That's my man. Played on several. Oh, John Paris, my man, who I met at SAC. The drummer's out.
Absolutely.
Right now, who I love.
John's been on Jackie's show too. So a lot of cats, man, from that area.
Listen, I'm grateful to that family that I had coming into that. I was a 21-year-old kid walking into Robert Brooken's world. You hear me?
Oh yeah, that's rough because Robert is a beast. God rest his soul. Robert was a beast, and
understatement.
All those cats were just amazing. His brother Michael, another longtime good friend.
Oh yeah, Michael Brothers. Yes, Laverne, sister Laverne. Come on, y'all.
Yeah. And then of course, our how I met you was with Victor Porter.
That's right, Teresa, Jay King's group, Teresa. That's right, and I love Teresa King. Shout out to them, Victor and Teresa.
Yeah, and
shout out, while we shouting out SAC, shout out to LaRue, Alex Hill.
Oh yeah,
Jackie LaRue, Bobby Sanders. All these are the things that I was doing, Jackie, when I first got there when I was 21 years old. Man, just meeting all these incredible cool people. Donnie Woodruff, one of my coolest friends, man.
Yeah, Samuel.
So I want to say shout out to all of them.
Yep, Samuel and the cats.
Samuel, right?
Florentino.
Right.
Florentino, I thought you said you were Filipino, man. You're a brother, aren't you?
Dude, that's what I loved about Sacramento. It was so diverse. Diversity.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing I love about Sacramento is diversity. As much as I love San Diego, sometimes we don't have that kind of same dynamic culture. I mean, there's pockets of stuff, but it don't mix like it did in Sacramento. So I definitely miss that. And and there were, like I said, it was family. Everyone was family there, and and everyone kind of grew and did different things in different areas. And you know, we both probably can go on for days for the amount of talent, even from the rock side. You know, you had Tesla.
Oh yeah, Tesla. Yeah,
you had because I was with those boys when they were City Kid, and then there's just
Cake.
so many.
Yeah, Cake.
Cake. Yeah.
Cake.
So all that stuff came out at the same time. It was crazy. So yeah, man, it's been a blessing listening to the stories and you know, reminiscing. And like I said, I think about my folks as well, brother. And you know, my dad, you know, God bless his soul. You know, he was Filipino through and through and very conservative. But the last thing he did was give me a guitar after he told me he had bought me too many instruments and said, you know, son, I believe in you. I'm going to invest in your recording project that you were doing. And then, you know, a few days later he passed, and that's why it keeps me driving and trying to fuel that with the younger generations and trying to bring the, you know, the stories and the insight and the wisdom from cats like you, brother, to the people in this business. And hopefully they appreciate it and they hold on to it in their hearts and use that to fuel whatever their dreams are.
And I think that is exactly what's happening. And I really am grateful to be a conduit to it, because I'm going to tell you something. Out here in my little corner out here in Woodland Hills in L.A., lots of these young producers that are coming through the game right now, like just starting and getting on these hit records. They're coming by and they're working with me, and I'm learning that, hey, they do care and they do want to have leave more than just a couple bleeps and blips on joints. They want emotion. They want passion on these chords. So I'm telling you, there's a movement in this whole game right now that's all about the music again. So that's what I want to say. That's encouraging me and making me hype again to work with some of the newest and truest to it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I just want to say there's definitely a movement afoot where we're getting back to it.
I agree, man. Even I'm going to give shout out to Cedric here. He plays in a horn band. So, you know, young 20-something cat playing in a horn band. So, you know, you got to give it up.
Right. Yeah.
And he's a mean guitar player as well as being a great engineer here, and he does all the video. He's like Mr. All-Around guy, and you know,
I love it, man.
It's a true blessing. And of course,
Let me say this, Flo, like the next 3 records that are coming out that have my name on anything, Chris Brown, this girl 7, who's already out right now on Atlantic, and another artist, a rapper, they all have used some of my records on SWV. So like it's something's happening where they're just continually going back to my catalog, and I don't know to what I owe it to, but I'm certainly thankful. And I'm glad. And we got Chris Brown with She Ain't You a couple of years back, was a big top 10 record for me.
Oh, nice.
Pulling Me Back with Chingy was Rain in 2008. So it's been a continuous, just like they keep going back to it, bro. Something is good. So that's why I want to do this project that's coming. And I know we can talk about that. How many minutes we got? We almost over?
Don't worry about it, brother.
We got about 6 minutes. We got about 6 minutes. I have 2 questions for you. The first one is the normal business. So how can people find out about Brian and the BAM movement? Or I'm going to start calling it the BAM movement. Bringing music back into the, you know, bringing art back into music. There we go, BAM music.
The best way to really keep up with me day to day, and this is the truth, I'm really, really heavy on Instagram. I post everything that I'm doing. I post snippets of the new projects that I have coming. So my Instagram is B_A_Morgan. And that's where I'm at every single hour.
I don't even have you on Instagram. I gotta bring you back on.
Yeah, that's where you can go. Man, I post up so many snippets of stuff that I'm working on, or people I'm working with, things that I'm doing. And then the next one is Facebook, which is basically an extension of my Instagram. But yeah, my Facebook is just Brian Alexander Morgan.
Yeah, awesome.
And my Twitter is @Real Brian Morgan. @Real Brian Morgan is my Twitter. I'm not really on Twitter heavy like that, but
Instagram is kind of the new Twitter anyway, man. It's just the visual side of it. Sure. So,
Brian, real quick, give me that Instagram one more time, please.
Yeah, it's B_A_Morgan.
All right. And my second question, not to commandeer Jackie's show here, but you know, one of the things that you get a chance to do a lot is work with the major labels and you know how this is. And I know you guys touched on it a bit, but you know, what's you know, what do you think these guys are trying to do nowadays? Because it's definitely a lot different than when we were kind of starting off in the business. You know, are they? You know, we don't see tour support anymore. We're not really even seeing marketing support. But you know, how do you think this is all going to play out with this industry being kind of, as you mentioned, the laptop-driven industry by you know, individuals that are, you know, not collaborative?
Well, as far as the touring part of it, that's been consolidated. You know, now there's only like a couple of companies that really even support that, Rock Nation and a couple others. So mostly what they do is send people out on group situations, like you're out with a group of people, and hey, that's what they got. That's what that is. But as far as the music part of it, though, there's recording and the records part of it. Like I was saying, I'm super encouraged that these kids, this generation of kids, thanks to Shazam and thanks to, you know, people just basically listening to stuff and Googling and finding out what the original source of stuff was. People have a real interest in the original sources of some of these records they hear that they thought were original. So what keeps happening is that they keep going back and sampling stuff, and then people will go back and listen to the original stuff, and then it generates traffic. And so all of it's good. All of it's good. And I personally I'm doing a project now where that's the focus of my project, is literally highlighting old stuff I've done within 20. I got 20 years worth of stuff that I haven't put out. So what I'm doing is pairing it up with new artists like Kalani and Jasmine Sullivan and cool new people that I love, and putting them on these records that I maybe wrote 15, 16 years ago.
Oh, wow,
and then flipping them and making them hot for now in today's generation. So it's going to be great, and I'm excited about the project. It's about Timeless is the name of it. ; BAM's Rare, Remixed, and Unreleased. It's about Timeless. BAM's Rare, Remixed, and Unreleased. We got that coming hopefully in the fall.
Oh,
trying to
awesome.
wrap it, get it going. So it's three
keep us up on that.
SWV joints. Yeah, it's crazy. 3 unreleased SWV joints on there. Joints I wrote for Babyface. Like I said, Jackie. I told Jackie I had Charlie, but this particular week has T-Pain and Charlie Wilson.
Oh, that's awesome.
On week together. It's like a lot of combinations.
T-Pain, he could actually sing though, without auto-tune.
Absolutely.
I heard
how
about
that happened was in 2010. We thought we were going to be doing a tribute to SWV, so T-Pain reached out and he did it, his own version of Week. I put my voice on there in place of Charlie for the second verse, but now at this point where I'm about to put this project out, I'm reaching out and getting like everybody that I ever wanted to be, to do it. It's going to be crazy. It's exciting.
Beautiful.
Well, we're here to support you, brother.
I think it's going to be a bridge from the old to the new. You'll see how we get down to the video, the visuals, and we understand that we have to reach out on social media and use some of these new social media stars to promote it. That's the new game. Jackie was asking about that. That's how you do it now. It's all marketing. It's all reaching into other people's networks and letting them know that you exist. That's the new model.
For sure.
I'm
gonna pass it back to Jackie. And like I said, man, you family. You've always been family, but now that you've been once you've been jumped in, you can't even jump out. You're part of the family now. We're gonna support you. We're gonna love you, and we're gonna
love you, man.
We're gonna put that out for you. So, Jackie, take it back away, brother.
All right, brother boy. Thank you so much. We'll talk offline. Hey, in the last minute here, I got to ask you a question. Something my wife brought up. I'm going to ask you this question. Let's try to make it a quick answer. If Brian Alexander Morgan wasn't playing music, producing, guitars, everything that you have to do that encompasses music, what would you be doing today?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think something that having to do with psychology or the mind. Like, perfect. I'm a real studier of people and people's behavior. I love behavioral stuff.
Simple as that. 30 seconds. I want to say, brother, from the bottom of my heart, the Bertoni family and the Intertalk Radio family in Florentino, thank you for accepting this olive branch that we extended out there. Thank you to Jay King for making this happy. Thank you for making the old new again, brother. And I'm a big fan. So with that said, I want everybody to stand up. If you're driving, don't stand up. But I want you to give a big applause to my in-studio guest today, BAM, better known as Brian Alexander Morgan, producer extraordinaire. Brian, I love you, brother. Thank you so much for being part of this situation. As I always say to everybody at the end of my interviews, peace through music. God bless you, brother. Best of health, and thanks for being part of this crazy thing called Jackie.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, Jay, for finding me. For real.
Absolutely. Love you, brother. We'll talk real soon. God bless you.
Thank you, brother.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al DiMeola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.